Thank you. Green Bay's Common Council held a discussion tonight surrounding their invocation process. Now, this is where members of the council pray at the beginning of the meeting. Tonight's debate talking about whether or not to continue having an invocation at future council meetings. News 10 Drew Best attended tonight's meeting and brings us the details of that discussion.
Different interpretations of the council's invocation were discussed at Tuesday's meeting on where the practice currently stands in the city's agenda structure. The conversation bringing forward the words of several members of the council, speaking for and against the removal of invocation.
What is the value of having this invocation versus what is the detriment potentially to people who are coming here to speak or to hear about city matters? And I think just looking at the calculus, that could cause people harm, that could cause people some alienation, estrangement.
As a body, I think I've enjoyed other denominations that have come before us, and I think what it does is it gives everyone a seat at the table that historically hasn't had that opportunity.
Community members speaking in favor of keeping invocation at council meetings.
One of the fundamental principles of the U.S. Constitution is popular sovereignty. Popular sovereignty. It's not just a special interest, it's not just one thing, but it's coming together and working together. And I think the invocation and the prayer does that.
I want our alders to be able to be comfortable in their own shoes. So I think a good compromise here would be to allow alders who are comfortable giving invocations to continue doing so, but make it easy for alders who think that that's not something they're comfortable with to abstain.
The council unanimously approved a referral to the mayor's office for additional review. Mayor Eric Genrich spoke openly in favor of keeping invocation at future meetings, saying it centers the council before times of deliberation.
Whether it's a moment of silence, whether it's the words that were offered by Alder Prophet tonight, poetry I think has been offered on a number of different occasions. All of those things are acceptable and welcomed and I think appreciated by our community.
The city attorney says invocation can be restricted based on time, place, and manner, but it cannot be restricted on content. Reporting in Green Bay, Drew Best, Action 2 News.